Popeli fall in love with you for two raisons. People fall in love with you only for two reasons. Avi Pumper, speech version. People don't fall in love with you because of how you look, what you have, or what you say. They fall in love with how you make them feel and what you represent in their lives. Every person you meet is fighting their own silent battles, carrying wounds, dreams, and insecurities. When they encounter someone who makes them feel understood, valued, or safe, someone who awakens something peaceful or powerful inside them, they fall in love, not necessarily with you, but with the version of themselves they experience through you. That's the first truth. People fall in love with the feeling you give them. It's the emotional experience of being seen and accepted without judgment. You become their calm in a noisy world, their reminder that goodness still exists. The second reason people fall in love is that you represent something they deeply crave. Maybe it's freedom, confidence, peace, or even healing. To them, you are a symbol, a mirror reflecting their inner longing. That's why love can sometimes fade when reality sets in. Because what they loved wasn't just you, but the idea of what you made them believe about themselves. Love is rarely logical. It's emotional projection at its finest. It's never just about attraction or chemistry. It's about emotional resonance. When people say, "I don't know why I love them," it's because love isn't built in the mind. It's built in the emotional memory of how someone makes you feel about yourself. That's why authenticity is more magnetic than perfection. You don't have to chase love, you have to embody truth. When you are real, when you know who you are, you radiate an energy that people can trust. Energy doesn't lie, and the heart can feel what the eyes can't see. People are drawn to your peace, not your performance. They fall in love with your calm confidence, your self-awareness, your ability to make them feel like they matter. Because in a world full of people trying to be noticed, the most beautiful thing you can be is authentic. That's the energy that people crave. The presence that doesn't demand attention but naturally commands it. Real love doesn't come from chasing chemistry, it comes from building connection. Chemistry may make your heart race, but connection makes your soul rest. True love isn't about who excites you for a moment, it's about who grounds you for a lifetime. It's about shared energy, mutual respect, and emotional alignment. People stay in love when they feel emotionally safe and spiritually connected, not when they're constantly trying to prove their worth. So remember this. People fall in love with you for only two reasons. Because of how you make them feel, and because of what you represent to them. The first one touches their heart, the second one touches their soul. And the most powerful love you can create is when those two reasons merge. When you make someone feel seen, inspired, and alive while staying true to who you are. Don't chase love, don't perform for it. Just embody peace, truth, and purpose. Because when your energy speaks louder than your words, the right hearts will always hear you. People fall in love with how you make them feel. People don't truly fall in love with your face, your body, your voice, or even your words. They fall in love with the emotional experience they have when they are around you. Every human being, deep down, is chasing a feeling, a sense of peace, safety, excitement, belonging, or inspiration. When someone meets you, they don't remember every word you say, but they never forget how you make them feel. The emotional imprint you leave behind becomes the foundation of love, attachment, and admiration. That's why some people walk into a room and everyone seems drawn to them. Not because they are the most attractive, but because their presence feels good. Their energy brings warmth, light, and calmness to others, and that feeling is unforgettable. The truth is, feelings are the language of the heart. You can impress someone with your achievements, your intelligence, or your beauty, but that only reaches the surface. Emotional connection goes deeper. It's when your energy speaks directly to their soul. When someone feels comfortable enough to be themselves around you, that comfort turns into trust, and that trust turns into emotional intimacy. It's the reason why people sometimes say, "I don't know what it is about you, but I just feel different when I'm with you." They're not falling for your appearance. They're falling for the emotional environment your presence creates. Think about the people you love or once loved deeply. It wasn't just what they did, it was how they made you feel. Maybe they made you laugh when life was hard. Maybe they made you feel understood when no one else could. Maybe they gave you peace in moments of chaos, or made you feel like you could do anything. That feeling becomes addictive. That's why you can't stop thinking about them. Not because they're perfect, but because they awakened emotions you didn't know you could feel. That's the power of emotional connection. People fall in love with those who remind them of who they truly are at their best. Love, at its core, is not a logical choice, it's an emotional reaction. We connect to those who meet our emotional needs without us having to ask. When someone's energy makes us feel valued, safe, and seen, we begin to associate them with those positive emotions. That's why sometimes, even after years, we can still remember someone who once made us feel deeply alive. It's not nostalgia for the person, it's nostalgia for the feeling. And the truth is, people who can make others feel that way carry a certain kind of quiet power. They may not be the loudest or the most beautiful, but they leave a mark that no one else can replace. However, understanding this truth comes with responsibility. When you realize that love is about emotional experience, you begin to understand that your energy matters more than your image. You start paying attention to how you show up for people. Do you bring peace or pressure? Do people feel lighter or heavier after talking to you? Your energy communicates before your words ever do. You can't fake kindness, calm, or authenticity. People feel it, and when they do, they open their hearts. That's why emotional intelligence is more attractive than looks, and empathy is more powerful than charm. You don't need to be perfect to make people fall in love with you. You just need to be emotionally aware. Listen when people speak, make them feel heard. Be present when they're vulnerable. Smile not just with your lips, but with your energy. When people feel emotionally safe with you, they let down their walls. And that's where love begins. The greatest relationships are not built on shared interests or physical attraction alone. They're built on emotional resonance, that invisible frequency that connects two souls who understand each other without words. But here's the deeper truth. The way you make others feel begins with how you feel about yourself. You can't give peace if you don't have it. You can't make others feel loved if you're filled with self-doubt or resentment. The energy you give is a reflection of the energy you live in. That's why self-love isn't selfish. It's essential. When you are grounded, whole, and emotionally balanced, you naturally radiate love, understanding, and confidence. People are drawn to you because your energy feels safe. You're not trying to take anything from them. You're simply being yourself, and that authenticity becomes magnetic. In the end, people will forget the compliments, the promises, and even the gifts. But they will never forget how they felt when they were with you. Love that lasts is built on emotional connection, not external perfection. The most beautiful people are those who make others feel beautiful. The most powerful are those who make others feel strong. And the most unforgettable are those who make others feel alive. So if you want to attract love that's real and lasting, focus less on impressing and more on expressing. Express kindness, patience, warmth, and gratitude. Be the person who makes others feel seen in a world that constantly overlooks them. Because when you can make someone's heart feel safe, their soul will always find its way back to you. And that's the secret. People fall in love with how you make them feel, and that feeling will always outlast everything else. People fall in love with what you represent. People rarely fall in love with you as you are. They fall in love with what you represent in their life. You might represent peace after years of chaos, love after rejection, or strength after weakness. Every person carries unspoken desires, hidden wounds, and unmet needs, and when they meet someone who seems to embody the answer to those silent prayers, their heart attaches deeply. Love, in many ways, is not always about connection between two people. It's often a reflection of what one person feels they've finally found in the other. You don't just attract people by who you are, you attract them by what your presence awakens in them. Think about it. When someone says, "I don't know why I love you, I just do," it's not confusion. It's the subconscious recognition that you symbolize something their soul has been craving. You might represent freedom to someone who's always felt trapped, or emotional stability to someone who's lived in chaos. You might represent acceptance to someone who has always felt misunderstood, or adventure to someone who's lived a quiet life. In this way, love becomes a mirror reflecting the parts of us we wish to experience more deeply. It's never just about attraction, it's about symbolism. You become the living image of something sacred within them. That's why love can feel so powerful at the beginning, because it feels like destiny. But the truth is, sometimes people fall in love not with you, but with the idea of you. They project their dreams, hopes, and healing onto you, believing you are the missing piece that will complete them. You become a vessel for their emotional imagination. That's why, when reality sets in, when they realize you're human, not a fantasy, the intensity begins to fade. It's not because the love wasn't real, but because the illusion was. They loved what you represented, not necessarily who you were. This is why self-awareness is crucial in love. When you understand that people fall in love with what you represent, you stop taking every relationship personally. You stop thinking every breakup means you weren't enough. Sometimes the relationship was never about you. It was about what you symbolized to the other person. You may have been the peace they sought, but peace is not something one person can give. It's something one must build within. You may have represented healing, but no one can heal another. They can only inspire the process. Once that person learns or outgrows what you represented, the emotional purpose of the connection might dissolve. That's the bittersweet truth about love and growth. Not every connection is meant to last, but every connection teaches something powerful. Love is projection before it's perception. Before truly seeing who you are, people first see who they want you to be. They build an image in their mind, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, that matches their desires. That's why early love feels magical. It's two imaginations dancing. But lasting love begins when both people can let go of the image and truly see each other. Flaws, fears, shadows, and all. Real love begins when the illusion fades and the choice remains. When someone still chooses you after seeing your humanity. That's not projection anymore. That's connection. So what do you represent to people? What energy do you carry? Are you someone who represents comfort, power, hope, or freedom? The way people perceive you has less to do with what you say and more to do with the emotional vibration you project. Some people walk into a room and instantly feel like home, others feel like adventure, inspiration, or mystery. What you represent comes from your inner state, your energy, your self-belief, your healing. You attract what you embody. When you embody peace, you'll attract those craving calm. When you embody purpose, you'll attract those seeking direction. When you embody self-love, you'll attract those ready to love authentically. But here's the deeper truth, you also represent lessons. Sometimes people are drawn to you because your energy forces them to confront parts of themselves they've ignored. You might represent growth, and growth isn't always comfortable. You might represent accountability, honesty, or transformation. And not everyone is ready for that. That's why some people will love you deeply, while others will feel intimidated or even push you away. Your presence will trigger in them whatever they need to face. It's not your fault. It's simply the spiritual purpose of connection. Understanding this truth brings freedom. You stop needing everyone to love you. You realize that love isn't always a reflection of your worth, but often a reflection of another person's readiness. You can be everything someone ever dreamed of, and they still might not be able to hold it. Not because you aren't enough, but because they're not ready for what you represent. So instead of changing yourself to fit someone's emotional image, you learn to stand strong in your authenticity. The right person won't just fall in love with what you represent, they'll fall in love with you beyond the representation. So, the next time someone falls for you, remember, it's not just about attraction, it's about meaning. You stand for something powerful in their world. You are either the calm after the storm, the hope after heartbreak, or the challenge that pushes them to grow. That's the mystery of human love. It's both emotional and symbolic. You are not just a person. You are an experience, a message, and a mirror. And when love evolves beyond representation, when someone loves you, not just for what you symbolize, but for who you are in your truth. That's when love becomes real. That's when two souls meet without illusions, without projections, and without masks. It's not about filling a void anymore, it's about expanding together. Because at the deepest level, people may fall in love with what you represent, but they stay in love when they finally see you. Love is an emotional mirror, not a transaction. Love is not a business deal, not an exchange of needs, and certainly not a checklist of what someone brings to the table. Love is an emotional mirror, a reflection of how people feel about themselves when they're with you. Every connection you experience in life, every spark of attraction or affection, is a reflection of your internal world meeting someone else's. People don't just see you, they see themselves through you. That's why love can feel so healing or so painful. Because it doesn't just show you who they are, it shows you who you are. Every relationship you have acts as a mirror, revealing your wounds, your worth, your fears, and your light. When someone loves you deeply, it's often because you reflect back to them the best parts of themselves, their kindness, their creativity, their hope, or their strength. You awaken something beautiful that already exists within them. That's why they say love feels like coming home. It's not that they've found something new. It's that they've rediscovered something within themselves that they had forgotten. But the opposite is also true. When someone becomes angry or resentful toward you, it often means you've reflected something they don't want to see. A fear, insecurity, or unresolved wound. This is why love can be both the most blissful and the most confronting experience in life. It holds up a mirror and says, "Look, this is who you are becoming through me." When love is transactional, it's rooted in fear, the fear of not being enough. Transactional love says, if I give you this, you'll give me that. If I'm perfect, maybe you'll stay. But emotional love, true love, says, I see you, I feel you, and I'm willing to understand you. It's not about keeping score, it's about creating safety. Love that demands something in return is not love, it's bargaining. The more we try to earn love, the more we move away from its essence. Because real love can't be bought, performed, or proven. It can only be felt. That's why the relationships that challenge you the most often teach you the most. The people who hurt you may not be villains. They may simply be mirrors showing you where you still need healing. When someone disrespects you, it reflects your need to establish stronger boundaries. When someone leaves you, it reveals how deeply you've tied your worth to their presence. When someone loves you purely, it mirrors your capacity to love yourself. Every connection serves a purpose. It teaches you something about who you are and what you believe you deserve. And this is where emotional maturity begins. When you stop asking, why did they treat me that way? And start asking, what is this teaching me about myself? Because love is not meant to complete you. It's meant to reveal you. Every heartbreak, every deep connection, every moment of vulnerability peels back another layer of your identity. The person you loved was a mirror, showing you what you needed to heal, what you needed to accept, and what you needed to let go of. Love is not about possession, it's about reflection. The moment you begin to see that, you stop chasing validation and start embracing growth. When we fall in love, we think we're connecting with another person, but in truth, we're connecting with our own emotional potential. Love shows us how deeply we can feel, how much we can give, and how open our hearts can become. And when it ends, it doesn't mean it failed. It means the mirror served its purpose. Some people come into your life to awaken your love, and some come to awaken your strength. Both are necessary. Both are sacred. But here's the beauty. When you understand that love is a mirror, not a transaction, you stop seeking love as a source of validation. You begin to build it from within. You no longer need someone to reflect your worth. You already know it. You start to love consciously, not desperately. You become aware of the energy you bring into relationships, and instead of asking, do they love me? You ask, do I love myself when I'm with them? Because that's the real measure of love. Not how much someone gives you, but how much you remain true to yourself in their presence. This is why self-awareness is the foundation of every healthy relationship. The more you understand your own emotional patterns, the more clearly you can see what's being mirrored back to you. When someone triggers you, you no longer react blindly, you reflect. You ask, what part of me is being revealed right now? That's how love becomes a path of transformation. It stops being something you fall into and starts being something you grow through. In the end, love is never about ownership. It's about evolution. Every person who enters your life is both a teacher and a reflection. Some show you your beauty, others show you your shadows. Both are necessary for your becoming. The relationships that fall apart are not failures, they are lessons in self-discovery. And the relationships that last are not perfect. They're simply mirrors you've learned to look into with compassion instead of fear. So, love without expecting, give without bargaining, and connect without clinging. Let every relationship, whether it stays or fades, teach you something about your heart, because love, in its purest form, is not a transaction between two people. It's a sacred mirror, one that reveals who you truly are, what you need to heal, and how deeply you can grow. And when you finally understand that, love stops being a search for completion and becomes a journey of awakening. Authentic energy is more magnetic than perfection. In a world obsessed with filters, performance, and appearances, authenticity has become a rare and powerful form of magnetism. People are not truly drawn to perfection. They are drawn to energy, real energy, the kind that feels calm, genuine, and safe. You can have the most beautiful face, the perfect words, or the highest status. But if your energy feels fake, anxious, or disconnected, people may admire you, yet they will never feel drawn to you. On the other hand, someone who walks in authenticity radiates an invisible confidence that cannot be taught. It's not loud, not forced, not polished. It's real. And real energy is irresistible because it makes others feel comfortable being real too. We live in an age where people try too hard to be liked. We curate our smiles, edit our words, and perform our personalities. But the more we perform, the more people sense the disconnection. The human heart has an instinct. It can feel when something is real and when it's rehearsed. Authenticity, on the other hand, doesn't require effort. It simply is. When you are authentic, you no longer chase validation, you attract resonance. People who belong to your frequency will find you naturally, because your energy will speak the same language as theirs. You stop impressing people and start inspiring them just by being yourself. Authentic energy comes from inner peace, not from outer perfection. It's born when you stop fighting with yourself, when you stop pretending to be something you're not, and start accepting who you are, flaws and all. When your inner world aligns with your outer expression, people can feel it. Your voice carries truth. Your presence carries safety. You no longer need to prove your worth, because your energy already radiates it. That's why authenticity is magnetic, because it is grounded in truth. And truth is powerful, even when it's quiet. Perfection, on the other hand, creates distance. It intimidates. It feels unreachable. When someone tries to be perfect, others may admire them, but they don't feel connected to them. Perfection says, "Look at me." Authenticity says, "I see you." That's the difference. One is about performance, the other is about connection. The most loved people are rarely the most perfect. They're the most real. They allow others to see their vulnerability, their humanity, their imperfections. They're open about their struggles, honest about their fears, and confident enough to admit they're still growing. That kind of energy builds trust, and trust builds attraction. There's a certain freedom in being unapologetically yourself. When you stop trying to please everyone, you start to attract the right ones. When you stop hiding your truth to fit in, you start shining in ways that can't be ignored. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It means being present. It means showing up as you are, not as you think you should be. It's speaking honestly, even when it's uncomfortable, and being kind without expecting anything in return. It's having boundaries without guilt, and confidence without arrogance. Authentic people don't need to talk about their worth. You can feel it in their energy. Energy is the language of the soul. Before anyone falls in love with your looks or your words, they fall in love with your vibration. Have you ever met someone who instantly felt familiar, like you've known them forever? That's energetic alignment. Or met someone who seemed nice, but something about their presence didn't feel right? That's energetic dissonance. We pick up on energy faster than we pick up on logic. That's why authenticity is magnetic, because it harmonizes with truth, and truth always feels safe to the soul. The greatest misconception is that you need to do more to be loved, say the right things, look a certain way, or act a certain part. But the truth is, love responds to energy, not effort. The more you try to prove your worth, the more you push love away, because desperation repels what peace attracts. When you are at peace with yourself, you send out a frequency of wholeness, and wholeness is irresistible. People are subconsciously drawn to those who are content because everyone is searching for that inner calm. When your energy says, "I am enough," you become a magnet for the people and opportunities that match that truth. Authentic energy also creates emotional safety, the foundation of every lasting relationship. People can sense when your kindness has an agenda and when it's real. They can feel when your interest comes from curiosity or manipulation. Authentic energy doesn't need to fake connection, it creates it effortlessly. When you speak truthfully, act with integrity, and live in alignment with your values, people feel they can trust you, not because of what you say, but because your energy matches your words. The irony is, the moment you stop trying to impress people is the moment you start to impact them. When your presence is grounded and your energy is clean, people feel lighter around you. You don't drain them, you recharge them. You don't demand attention, you command it naturally. True confidence isn't loud. It's peaceful. It doesn't need validation because it's rooted in authenticity. The most magnetic people are those who are completely comfortable in their own skin. They move with quiet strength, not arrogance. They love openly, not fearfully. They attract deeply, not superficially. So if you want to be magnetic, stop chasing perfection. Stop trying to say the right thing or be the right person for everyone. Focus instead on being real, on aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your truth. The right people will feel your energy long before they understand your story. Your authenticity will do the work that your perfection never could. Because in the end, the most unforgettable people aren't the flawless ones. They're the ones whose energy feels like honesty, whose presence feels like home, and whose spirit reminds you that it's safe to be yourself. Love that lasts comes from connection, not chemistry. Chemistry is what sparks attraction, but connection is what sustains love. Chemistry makes your heart race, connection makes your soul rest. In the beginning of most relationships, it's easy to mistake intense chemistry for deep love. The butterflies, the late-night talks, the obsession, the thrill, it feels powerful, almost spiritual. But chemistry alone is like a matchstick. It burns bright and fast, then fades when reality enters. Real love, however, is not built on fleeting emotion. It's built on emotional and spiritual alignment. The steady warmth that comes from truly knowing and understanding another person beyond the surface. When two people connect, it's more than attraction. It's resonance. It's when your values align, your energies harmonize, and your hearts feel safe together. Connection says, "I can be myself with you." It's not about pretending, performing, or proving. It's about feeling understood without explanation. True connection gives you the freedom to be vulnerable without fear, to express without editing yourself, to rest without anxiety. In a world where everyone is busy trying to impress, real connection feels like exhaling, it feels like home. The problem is, most people chase chemistry because it's exciting. It gives you instant gratification. It makes you feel alive. But chemistry is not always connection. Sometimes it's trauma recognition. Sometimes the spark you feel is your unhealed self recognizing a familiar pattern, chaos, instability, or validation chasing, and calling it love. That's why so many people get caught in cycles of intense attraction that never evolve into healthy relationships. What feels like passion might actually be emotional addiction. The body craving what's familiar, not what's healthy. Connection, on the other hand, might not always be loud, but it's real. It grows slowly, like a fire that burns steady and strong. It's the quiet comfort of consistency, the peace of trust, and the joy of emotional safety. Connection is when love isn't just felt, but built, through patience, communication, and shared growth. It's when two people choose each other even when the chemistry fades, even when life gets messy, even when it's not easy. Because connection doesn't depend on constant excitement. It depends on commitment, empathy, and emotional understanding. When you fall for chemistry, you're focused on how someone makes you feel. When you build connection, you're focused on who someone truly is. Chemistry is emotional intensity. Connection is emotional intimacy. One is about stimulation, the other is about stability. You can have chemistry with many people, but true connection is rare. It's not something you find, it's something you create by showing up with honesty, vulnerability, and emotional presence. Love that lasts isn't about always feeling in love. It's about choosing love even when the feelings fluctuate. Real connection allows space for imperfection, for disagreements, for distance, for growth. It's not about having constant excitement. It's about having mutual respect. In a connected relationship, both people understand that love is not a high. It's a journey. Some days you walk hand in hand, other days you walk alone, but you never stop walking in the same direction. The truth is, connection begins where ego ends. Chemistry feeds the ego. It says, I want to be desired. Connection feeds the soul. It says, I want to be understood. In a world full of noise and distraction, connection thrives in presence. It's in the quiet moments, sharing silence, sitting in understanding, offering empathy, where real love grows. Love that lasts isn't built in intensity, it's built in intimacy. It's the moment someone sees your flaws and doesn't flinch. It's the moment you feel accepted, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. That's why the most beautiful love stories aren't about grand gestures or passionate chaos. They're about partnership. Two people growing side by side, building something steady, honest, and strong. Chemistry can start love, but connection is what keeps it alive. Because when the fire of attraction dims, and it always does, it's connection that keeps the warmth glowing. Connection keeps the conversations meaningful, the trust unshakable, and the love enduring. You don't need someone who constantly excites your nerves. You need someone who calms your soul. You need someone whose energy feels like peace, not pressure. Someone who listens, understands, and stands beside you when the world feels uncertain. That's connection. It's the kind of love that doesn't drain you. It fills you. It doesn't control you. It frees you. It doesn't demand perfection. It celebrates growth. Connection is not about two perfect people. It's about two willing hearts choosing each other, again and again, in honesty and compassion. The most powerful thing about connection is that it deepens with time. The more you communicate, the more you understand. The more you forgive, the more you trust. The more you show up, the more you love. Chemistry fades when effort stops, but connection grows stronger with care. That's why lasting relationships don't rely on constant passion. They rely on constant presence. Real love is quiet but unwavering, humble but strong, gentle but unbreakable. So, stop chasing the spark and start nurturing the flame. Stop looking for someone who gives you butterflies, and start valuing someone who gives you peace. Because one day, you'll realize that the truest kind of love isn't the one that burns hot and fast. It's the one that stays, evolves, and grows with you. Chemistry might make you fall in love, but connection will make you stay in love. And that, ultimately, is the difference between love that fades and love that lasts forever.